In 1973, archaeologists in Iraq unearthed a clay tablet from 1500 BC containing a series of crude riddles, proving that humanity's oldest surviving joke is literally a fart joke about a dog. We conquered the Ice Age, domesticated fire, built the pyramids, and yet our collective intellectual dawn was accompanied by a wet noise. This reveals a tragic truth about the human condition. Our species did not develop language to discuss philosophy or coordinate complex mammoth hunts, but rather to mock each other and laugh at flatulence. For decades, evolutionary biologists assumed that humor was a late-stage luxury product of civilization, a useless byproduct of a bloated brain. They were entirely wrong. Humor is actually a highly aggressive, deeply tribal survival mechanism that predates modern language itself. It is the ultimate social weapon, forged in the mud of the Pleistocene epoch to prevent our ancestors from murdering each other over a piece of rotting meat. Before we had words for God, love, or democracy, we had the laugh. But why did our ancestors feel the need to invent comedy in a world where a simple toothache could kill you? To understand that, we have to look at the grim reality of early hominid life. It was a potent existence of constant, paralyzing terror, where every rustle in the bushes meant a saber-toothed cat was about to liquefy your spleen. In this meat grinder of an environment, a false alarm was a massive waste of precious energy. If a hominid heard a rustle, spiked its adrenaline, and then realized it was just a harmless squirrel, it needed a way to signal to the rest of the tribe that the danger had passed. That signal was a rhythmic, vocalized exhalation of air. It was the primitive prototype of the laugh. It was a biological reset button. But how did a survival signal evolve into a complex system of setup and punchline? The answer lies in an ancient, dark secret of human communication that we still use today, a psychological mechanism that scientists call benign violation theory, which we will dissect to show how the very first joke was actually a threat. This primitive vocalization was not about joy. It was about relief mixed with a sinister realization of safety. Imagine a group of Australopithecus huddled in a dark cave, clutching sharp rocks, shivering in the cold. One of them slips on a patch of wet mud and crashes face first into a pile of mammoth dung. In a world governed by absolute terror, this is a violation of physical safety. The fallen hominid could have broken its neck, leaving the tribe down one hunter. But as he stands up, covered in feces but physically unharmed, the threat level drops to 0. The violation becomes benign. The tribe erupts into a chorus of rhythmic barking. They are not being cruel. They are celebrating the fact that death has been cheated in a ridiculous way. This is the birth of slapstick comedy. It is a calculated cognitive calculation. The brain detects a threat, prepares for disaster, and then suddenly realizes the threat is harmless, releasing a massive surge of dopamine as a reward. This process explains why we still laugh when someone falls down the stairs today, provided they do not actually die. If they die, the violation remains severe and the comedy vanishes. Our ancestors quickly realized that this mental loophole could be exploited. They did not have to wait for someone to accidentally fall in dung to get that sweet, addictive dopamine hit. They could recreate the experience artificially. This led to the development of play fighting and tickling. Tickling is actually a highly sophisticated evolutionary simulation of predator attack. You only tickle vulnerable areas like the throat, ribs, and armpits. The brain registers a physical attack on its most vital organs, panics, and then realizes it is just a family member playing. The result is laughter, a physical scream of relief that signals the attack is a fake. It was a way for early humans to practice combat without the inconvenient side effect of bleeding to death. As human brains swelled in size and language began to emerge, this physical play transformed into cognitive play. We stopped tickling each other's armpits and started tickling each other's minds. This is where the mechanics of the joke became incredibly sophisticated, relying on a cognitive phenomenon known as incongruity resolution. The human brain is a highly advanced prediction machine. It survives by looking at the present and predicting the immediate future based on past patterns. If you walk into a dark room and hear a growl, your brain predicts a predator. A joke works by deliberately hijacking this prediction machine. The setup of a joke establishes a familiar pattern, leading the listener's brain down a highly predictable path. The punchline then violently derails that path, introducing a completely unexpected, incongruous element. The brain is momentarily baffled, experiences a brief flash of cognitive tension, and then rapidly resolves the incongruity by finding a new, hidden logic that connects the setup to the punchline. This rapid resolution triggers the laugh. It is a cognitive victory lap. If the punchline is too predictable, there is no tension, and therefore no laugh. If the punchline is too bizarre and makes no logical sense, the brain cannot resolve the incongruity, resulting in confusion instead of amusement. The perfect joke exists in a narrow, highly volatile sweet spot of cognitive dissonance. To achieve this, ancient humans had to master the art of theory of mind, which is the ability to understand what another person is thinking, predicting, and expecting. You cannot tell a joke if you cannot put yourself inside the head of your audience and actively manipulate their expectations. This means that the development of humor was not a trivial artistic pursuit, but a massive cognitive leap forward that required the same mental machinery as strategic warfare, diplomacy, and advanced toolmaking. But who actually told the very first joke? And what was the punchline? For centuries, historians assumed this information was lost to the sands of time. However, in 1976, a team of British linguists and historians decided to find out. They analyzed thousands of ancient texts, from Egyptian papyri to Roman joke books, tracing the linguistic evolution of humor back to its absolute roots. They discovered that the oldest recorded joke in human history dates back to 1900 BC, written in the ancient Sumerian language on a clay tablet in what is now modern-day Iraq. The joke is incredibly simple, incredibly stupid, and reveals that human nature has not changed in 4,000 years. The translation reads as follows. Something which has never occurred since time immemorial. A young woman did not fart in her husband's lap. To a modern audience, this sounds like an incredibly dry, bizarrely specific observation. But to a Sumerian, this was absolute comedic gold. It contains all the classic elements of humor. It sets up a grandiose, epic expectation of historical importance with the phrase, "since time immemorial," leading the brain to expect a profound philosophical truth or a tale of gods and heroes. It then violently derails that expectation with a crude, highly relatable domestic reality. It is a perfect incongruity resolution. It brings the lofty heights of civilization down to the messy, embarrassing reality of human biology. It is also a highly strategic social tool. Sumer was a highly structured, deeply religious, and heavily bureaucratic society. The state controlled everything from your grain rations to your religious duties. In such a high-pressure, tightly controlled environment, humor acted as a vital pressure release valve. It allowed citizens to mock the rigid social expectations of marriage, purity, and etiquette without actually rebelling against the state. The economic and political impact of this cognitive tool cannot be overstated. Humor quickly became the ultimate weapon of the powerless against the powerful. In ancient Greece, the playwright Aristophanes used savage, biting satire to mock the powerful demagogue Cleon during the Peloponnesian War. Cleon was a terrifying warlord who could have easily had Aristophanes executed, but the playwright's jokes were so popular and so deeply embedded in the public consciousness that executing him would have caused a massive political riot. Humor protected the critic by wrapping the truth in a sugar-coated pill of laughter. It made the powerful look ridiculous, stripping away their aura of divine authority and exposing them as flawed, absurd humans. This is why tyrants throughout history have always been notoriously thin-skinned and terrified of satire. A joke is a weapon that cannot be parried with a sword. It infects the minds of the populace, spreading like a virus through the social fabric. But there is a dark side to this evolutionary tool. Humor is also a brutal mechanism of exclusion. By laughing together at a specific target, a tribe defines who is in the in-group and who is in the out-group. It is a way of policing social behavior, humiliating those who violate tribal norms, and reinforcing the hierarchy. The same tool that liberates the oppressed can also be used to torment the weak. Ultimately, our ability to laugh is a bizarre evolutionary paradox. We developed a highly complex, metabolically expensive cognitive system just to make weird barking noises at fart jokes and slapstick accidents. It is a testament to our survival. We did not survive the harsh realities of prehistoric Earth because we were the strongest or the fastest, but because we were the only species capable of looking into the terrifying abyss of existence, seeing the absolute absurdity of our survival, and choosing to laugh at it.